tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name's Tim Mahoney, and I teach finance, and I've taught some economics here at the University of Southern Indiana. Also advise students or help students sort of find their way in their scheduling. And I work on a series of special projects, you might say, for the dean and for the university. So do a lot of miscellaneous things. And I'm currently working on another course right now. So one project sort of leads to another. In fact, we've got a couple of guest speakers coming onto the university, so working on those right now. We've got a protege of Dave Ramsey. A fellow by the name of Chris Hogan is coming in October, and then in April we've got Colin Powell is going to be joining us for a presentation on April the 4th. So working on projects like that, because those do take a fair amount of time to organize those and get them together. So those are some of the things that I'm working on right now.
How did you become a teacher?
Well, it was, okay, do you want me to really explain the whole thing?
Yeah.
It's a very good question, because you never know. Everybody's got a story and a history. This goes back to when I finished my master's degree at the University of Illinois, and I had a commitment to go in the military for a couple of years. Well, when I got in the military, you have to go through a physical for active duty. And I was out in Oklahoma, and they said that I couldn't pass the physical. I have a problem with my shoulder. It's not disability or anything like that. They said I couldn't pass the physical, and so they sent me home in October. And in October, I couldn't go back to graduate school. So as a result of that, I happened to go to a neighboring community, and they were looking for a teacher. And it so happened that a teacher had passed away, and they said, could you teach some economics? And I said, well, it just so happens I probably could. And so I started teaching. So that's how I actually started teaching. It was an opportunity that just happened to come open. It was what's called serendipitous, just sort of an opportunity that opened. And then I went back and did more graduate work, and then subsequently started to do some teaching. And then I joined the university back in 1987. But I really got into teaching sort of, it wasn't planned, but it was a very, very good move, and I enjoyed doing it. But it wasn't one of those things. Some people, they plan to be a teacher and they take all the courses, and I came in sort of the back door to do it. Yeah.
How did you start teaching at USI?
Well, when I was hired at the university, I had a meeting with the dean, the academic dean, and I was primarily hired originally to help out with labor management relations in the community. That was my original task. And I can remember the interview that took place. And in that process, the whole idea of labor management relations, it was very important when you're attracting business to a community. They're looking for good educational opportunities for the employees. They're looking for good workforce. They're looking for good opportunities to locate businesses in an area. But they also want to make sure that labor relations are good in an area. And there was a reputation at one point that maybe labor relations in the Evansville area weren't as strong as they could be. And so they wanted somebody to come in and maybe to kind of focus attention on that. And so that was one of the reasons I was brought in. At the end of the interview, Dr. Reed, who was our provost at that time, said, oh, by the way, I understand that you've got a degree in economics. If you interested in teaching some economics for us? And that's how I got to be teaching economics. So I did come in working with labor management, but then I was teaching some sections of economics at that time. And that was a very formative part of the university, because that was before a lot of our buildings were built. And so we all were kind of grouped in the administration building. And so everybody pitched in doing everything. So I was teaching and then working with labor management and doing just about everything else. Yes.
Have you had any other jobs besides teaching?
Well, I haven't had. In fact, the last job I had before joining the university, I was with a California-based consulting company. And what we would do is that we would help companies that were having financial problems, serious financial problems. We would actually come in and live with companies for anywhere from 6 months to 18 months. and we would try to figure out ways that they could improve their operations. And we would speak to the president, we would speak to the executive team, we would speak to the folks at the middle management, we would speak to all employees that we could get a hold of, and we would try to come up with a plan to improve their operations. So we were outside consultants. So we did that for a period of years. I did that for a period of years. And finally, the last work site that I had before joining the university was up in Indianapolis. And I had the opportunity, I was offered a position to stay with the Indianapolis position. I was offered an opportunity to go back to California to take on another consulting role, or I was offered a position at the University of Southern Indiana. And I took that position here at the university, and it was a very good decision. I'm very happy that I'm here. It's worked out extremely well. So the nice thing about when you're working as a consultant, you come into an operation as an outsider, and so you can say to yourself, how can you improve the operation? And so you look at that, and so you kind of take the big picture. And I still do that now about how can we improve the total operation, not just what's going on in economics or what's just not going on with day-to-day operations. You like to kind of look at the big picture. So that's been a good experience.
What college did you attend? How was it different compared to USI?
Well, my undergraduate work was a small liberal arts college in Wisconsin. It's called Ripon College. It was less than 1,000 students. Very small school. But the nice thing about it, you knew everybody. And so you really got involved in every aspect of the college. And I was, the big thing I can say in that situation, I learned how to learn. When I went to college, I was a very, very slow reader, and I didn't know how to study. I was insulted when somebody told me I didn't know how to study. That person was absolutely correct. I didn't know how to study. And I had to teach myself how to study, and I had to teach myself how to read better. I went out and hired myself a tutor to read faster. And it was the best money I ever spent. I hired a high school teacher, and she used to tutor me one-on-one to help me to read faster. And I use those techniques today, and it's really paid off. But I remember in the learning process going to a vacant classroom building and trying to teach myself a little bit about how to learn history a little bit better, or how to learn French a little bit better. And so I learned how to learn. That's really what it was. So whether it was French or biology or sociology or whatever it was, the learning techniques that you pick up, so once you can learn how to learn, you can transfer that to just about anything. Then I did my graduate work at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana.
What strategies did you use to be successful in college?
Well, the strategies were survival strategies, which is the idea that I knew that while I was in college, whether it was undergraduate or graduate, I wanted to be successful. I was raised in a community outside of the Chicago area. It was Hinsdale, was a nice suburb, and everybody went to college. It wasn't any question. Everybody went to college, and I wasn't going to be the person that came home early. And so the strategy is to be successful in terms of academics and getting involved and making sure that it was a good experience. And I think that's sort of a way you want to look at anything. Whether you have a job, you want to get in and try to do the best job you possibly can, getting involved, getting to know people, giving as much effort as you possibly can. And I think that's how you can become successful in just about anything.